Welcome back to Whitt Acres. Today we're out at the garden pond and we're going to be adding a new feature that I've never seen done before on another garden pond. I've been working on this garden pond for a little over a year now. It's doing pretty well. The water quality is really nice and we have some feeder goldfish in there. I did see a baby bluegill as well as the largemouth bass. So I don't have my koi and my other goldfish and shabunkin in here yet, but that's because the pond's not quite finished. We don't have the waterfall pump. We're running the filter pump on that one right now, and then once we get the waterfall pump, we'll switch that to run the intake bay wetland filter. But today we're going to be messing with this hose. This 2-inch hose runs down into a barrel system on the back side of the pond that is outside of the main basin. That barrel there collects all the water that comes from a French drain underneath the entire length of the pond, running all the way up past the waterfall, the stream, and up to the intake bay. Underneath all of the liner is a French drain and a pipe that brings all that groundwater and leaking water into that sump pit. Once the sump pump fills up, it'll pump it back into the pond and keep my water at a pretty stable level. That happens about every 8.5 minutes, and it runs for maybe 20 seconds. The pump that's running on it right now is a 6,000 gallon per hour pump, so it really puts it out decently. And since it's a function that's going to have to turn on about every 8.5 minutes and pump water, I figured I could turn that function into a feature. So for a while now, it's been just a hose pumping back into the pond, and I got to keep that end of the hose above water level so it can suck air back, because I don't have a check valve on that. I could put a 2-inch check valve on there, but it's actually really expensive. So it's easier just to keep the pipe above water. So the feature we're going to be building today is a geyser. Now it's going to be coming on every about 8.5 minutes, so I should have a nice little Old Faithful geyser. I've never seen this done on a pond before. You usually have just waterfalls or fountains or spill bowls or little spitting frogs. But this time I want to do something different and have every feature as possible as I can on the pond. I might get a spitting frog eventually. But today we're going to be putting in a new geyser. Had to go to Lowe's and pick up a few pieces, and this is what I'm going to be working with today. The green hose I got at Tractor Supply, and it has a brass end fitting on it, and that end fitting is going to screw onto this gray pipe that we have here with threads, a little nipple with threads on both ends. From that threaded end we're going to screw this on. This has threads on one side. That'll go on there, and now we're at a female slip and a coupler, 2-inch coupler. 2-inch coupler will go on there just like that, and I'm going to be gluing all these pieces together, but I want to do a dry fit before I make sure everything works before I glue anything. This is the next piece, which we got a 2-foot section, and I already cut some nipples out of it, so this is just a leftover piece. I hope it's long enough, but I do have more of this if we need to use it. That's going to go into that section there, so we're just extending the pipe so far. We're coming into a T, and this is going to be the important part to shoot the geyser upward. The T is going to fit on there, and it's going to sit just like that, and the water is going to shoot straight up. And that is going to come with a nipple at the top here, which I cut off of the 2-foot section. And then to get the spray, I actually tested this already, and the 2-inch is a decent geyser, bringing it up about 12-18 inches. But I want a little bit better of a little mushroom cloud coming up here. Hi, puppy. You want some attention, Echo Pup? How you doing? So I wanted to reduce this down a little bit, and we couldn't find any nice fittings that I wanted to use. They all had a lot of back pressure. So I figured if I could just use a cap and put it on the end here and drill a hole through the top to the size that I want to reduce down to, that would be pretty nice, because this actually has a curved bell inside. So the water should just flow nicely upward and not have much back pressure at all. So that's going to be going on there like this. And instead of the water just shooting out of here, we want it to go up. So we have to close this end off. So we have another nipple here with a ball valve. This is a 2-inch ball valve, and that's going to go on the end here. And we'll have it closed. So that'll keep all the pressure in the system here and shoot it straight out of the top. I don't know if you ever used one of these before, but these things are really hard to turn. So we're probably going to have to secure this into place really well whenever it's in its final location so that it can operate without breaking. So with this going on the end like that, I'll probably have this turned down to the bottom so it's not as visible. So it'll be pretty much sitting like that as a full system. And all I have to do, I'm going to use this as a dry fit, but before we can test it, I need to drill a hole into this cap here and reduce this 2-inch down to, I want to do probably 1.25 inches. So I had my dad mark center on this cap. I'm going to try and drill out a hole that's 1.25 inches. We're going to see if that might be too much back pressure. I'm thinking 1.25 inches, but I might have to ream it out to 1.5 inches. So we're going to try 1.25 inches first, and we can always go bigger. It's flowing right now. It just turned on. So you can see we have some decent heavy flow that we're working with. We just got to angle it and direct it the way that I want to put it. So I do have to route this hose a little bit to hide it. I'm going to be pulling it out of that barrel and riding it along this rock wall here, and then putting my pipe system out here, because this hole here is supposed to be where the geyser is going to come up and spray, so it can all drop down in some deep water and have some nice sound. So I'm going to get this cap drilled out, and then we'll get this all dry fitted and see if it'll work. I've been trying to clean out the pond of all the algae, and we have some glare on the water, but you can actually see all the gravel down there. So I've been picking out a lot of the algae. I just keep filling it up in a bucket and taking it down to the compost. But I did add this little filter here in a 5-gallon bucket. All it is one of these sump pumps here. This one died on me, so I had to replace it, but it's just a sump pump just like this with the trip valve on it. And I put it in the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket. I put river rock all the way around it. And then I used a bunch of old shirts that we have from high school and stuff that we're not using anymore. And I tucked those in all in the top of the bucket and smashed them all in like filter floss. And then there's a pipe in the top of the bucket that comes up through all the clothes and shoots the water up. So all the water that the pump is pumping has to get sucked through all the shirts and the hoodie that I have in there before it can get pumped back up through. And I don't know if you can see it in there, but there's a lot of green algae all over the clothes in there, and the pond is a lot clearer than yesterday. I came through here and scooped a lot of it out, and we had a lot of floating stuff going around the pond, but now that that's been running all night long, it is a lot clearer, and I'm liking the way it's turning out. It's starting to sprinkle here, so I'm going to try and get this done. All right, I have it on, and since I didn't have that hose in the right position to start with, my pipe is longer than it needs to be. So once I got that into position, it pushed the end of the pipe a little bit further. So I'm gonna have to cut down that length of pipe right there and shift this whole mechanism back a little bit into the gap I want. I'm going to dry fit this piece, make sure it's in the right spot before I put the reducer on and drill the hole. And you'll get to see what it looks like with a 2-inch on it instead of the reducer before we change it up. So I just have the sump pump pipe running down through here. We connected my contraption right on the end here with the T, and it's right in the center of the deepest pit here. I left this deep pit here just for this reason, so it could go up and then splash down into a nice deep sound. When this is finished, it should all be glued together and it shouldn't pop off, but until I glue it all together, this end will just launch off whenever the pump comes on. So I'm going to put this stone here to kind of keep it in place. Hey pup. Alright, we're on mock trial number 1 of the geyser in the pond. Not bad. I want it bigger though. It works though, and I really like the feature it's going to bring to the pond. Now I'm going to reduce it down and see if I can make it any better. This is actually a reducer that I just found in the garage. I drilled it out, but I didn't use it yet. I just wanted to test out that one, see how it was. Now we'll put the smaller one on, see if it's even worth it. This was actually pretty good though. Now we'll put this one on and see if it's any better as a geyser. Fit right on there. Hole's pretty much in the middle. I'll put that on as tight as I can get it by hand so it doesn't pop right off. But yeah, this one actually worked pretty good. It's a little bit bigger than my hole, so this geyser should be a little bit taller. Oh, hi pup. I think that is so much better, and it's a perfect size for the pond. Nice. I just have it dry fitted now, so I'm able to pull this off now, get them sanded down and painted black. I'm going to put them black so you don't see them as easy, and then I'll get this back in here and dress up all this stonework around the hose here so you don't see it. And this will be a nice little geyser feature here on the pond that nobody else has. Rump up. Well, while that geyser gadget is drying on the paint, I'm going to see if my spa tips that are for my jets are going to fit. Ooh, that's deeper. I have some ball valves put in here against the hose where I'm going to have some jets come out. Right now I have it turned off because we don't have this pump running. But once we get this pump running, I want these jets to actually work. So what these are going to be are these little spa tips that you put in a hot tub. And you can angle them around so you can get a little bit different direction from your jet. So hopefully that'll be enough direction that I'll be able to move it around in here and get the right amount of flow. But to get this to mount to that, we had to do a Fernco. So I got a Fernco here and another little nipple. And this nipple thing will screw in, or adapter will screw into the ball valve here. And then the Fernco will connect these two joints together. We'll put that in like that. And then this Fernco, which is just a rubber adapter or coupling, I'm going to put this in one end, like that. And then hopefully this will fit around this end. would fit in the store. Oh, there we go. Just had to loosen this hose clamp. Now we're nice and tight. We can thread this baby right. Get the sticker off of there. Now we can thread this right into the jet. It's not exactly what I pictured, but this will give me directional jets here. I have 3 of them going around the outside of the pond, and I'll be able to angle them a little bit so I can get some flow. And then I'll be able to angle them up during the winter so to keep the top of the water from freezing. So this will give me some options. It's not exactly what I was picturing, but gotta start somewhere. So I am gonna have to do something to cover this up and help it blend in because it is a little bit big, but that's just what I'm working with right now. I have a couple more going down this side here. Oh, water's getting deeper. I'm not really dressed for this. But we have another jet here underneath this algae that we'll get one hooked up here. And then going around the turn all the way at the bottom of the beach, we have another one. I'm gonna get all these adapters put on the jets here, and then I'm gonna get another coat of paint on the geyser gadget, and then I'll bring it back when I'm hooking it all up. Well, yesterday ended up being a rainy and humid day. We had some sun, but it wasn't enough to dry out the paint job on the geyser adapter gadget thing. This thing looks like a potato gun right now. But I took it inside last night, put it in front of the AC vent, and it's been drying, so we are ready to install this on the pond. I think the pond is looking gorgeous today. We have the 5-gallon bucket filter still running on this. I left it run all day, and I think that's just really helping keeping the water clear. There still is algae on the bottom, but it's a lot better than it all floating around here on top. We got a bunch of little minnows swimming around in the beach here. All right, let's get this hooked up. I have a ball valve here after the tee, and that's so it can be closed and all the water gets shot up out of the tee. And then during the winter, whenever I want to open it up and not have the top freeze, I can forcefully open this ball valve and it'll be winterized, and I'll have flow coming out of this side and the top, and I won't freeze over and the pump get backed up. Easy enough to install. I don't know when this geyser is going to kick on. It could be at any moment. Get that closed. Right here. There's going to be some work to do to actually hide this into the pond and make it look like it belongs, but I'm not real worried about that yet. I'm just trying to make the function work right now, and then I'll work on designing around it. Let's wait and see how it looks whenever it goes off. That was hard. I had to move you back. Not bad. I like it. Look at that. Kind of getting blown around in the wind a little bit. Hitting the beach. I think it's a pretty good height. It's a little high actually maybe, but that's pretty nice. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. What do you think, pup? You like the geyser? I think that's gonna work out nicely. So I have the pipe running here along the edge of the beach and in between the intake bay. And what I'm thinking about doing, not really this, I was just holding the hose down, but I wanna use some bigger rocks and line them up right here and have the pipe run there in the middle of the 2 rocks and then fill that in with gravel, and that'll leave me a nice planting pocket. I can put some plants right over it and you won't even see that hose. Out here at the end of the pipe, I designed this pocket here next to the beach, and that is for the geyser to spray up and then drop back into. I didn't want it to be splashing too much, so I wanted a deeper pocket of water for it to land in, but that is going to make it a little bit harder for this to blend in. I was planning on using some floating plants on the pipe to try and blend it in that way, but I also need to hold it in position because it does blow with a lot of force, and I don't want it waving around and ending up blowing outside of the pond. I'm not going to be able to finish the design portion around this geyser feature in this video because that's going to take some time for me to actually look at what it is, put some stones in place, look at them for a little while, and make sure that's what I want, and then I might change it all again. So that's going to take a little bit of time for me to blend this all in. I just wanted to get the functioning portion done and make it work, and it's not just a random hose blowing into the pond anymore. So there's still going to be some tinkering left to do on this geyser to get it finished, but it is working, and now we have a functional geyser in the pond, and I don't think anybody else has one, which is pretty cool. Many people have a waterfall and even a fountain in their pond, but I don't know anybody who has a geyser. I think the hole being a little bit crooked could be causing the geyser to be a little cattywampus, but we're gonna live with it for now. I was having another idea with this geyser, and I'm wondering if it's something I can pull off. Once I get this secured into place where it's gonna be, I'd like this end to actually be under a little bit of water. I can't just put it directly underwater because whenever the geyser shuts off, it would start siphoning water back into my sump pit. I don't have a check valve on it, so I don't want that to be siphoning the water out of the pond. It would just siphon it into the pit and make my pond work a lot harder because once the water goes in, it'll pump it right back out. So I'm thinking to solve that problem, if I can put a dish or some type of like large shallow dish around the top of this, put a hole in the bottom and then set that dish around it, kind of like a fountain would be, I would have a shallow bit of water over top of this, and then there would just be a plain pool, and then this would actually shoot up through the water and then drop back in. And if it does start to siphon, it'll just start to siphon that dish a little bit, and once that catches air, it'll stop and it'll balance again. That's just an idea though. Like I said, I am going to be doing a lot of tinkering on this, trying different things and seeing what looks good and seeing what looks the best. And so far the pond is looking good. We're just about to have the big gladiola pop open here in the next week, and this is going to be full. It has 24 coolers on it that I staked up, and there's still more flowers that I didn't stake. We got a sunflower back there, and the butterfly bush and hosta are blooming right now. So it's just a really nice time out here on the pond. We do have some goldfish in here right now. I didn't bring out my main goldfish yet, but they're going to be coming out soon. I've been trying to clean up some of this algae, but you can see there's still some on there. I'm not too worried about it. I know there's going to be algae in the pond. I want it to be natural, but I have been really happy with the water quality. We have a lot of goldfish down there, you can see. And then right there, it's really hard to see, is actually a little bluegill. One of the baby bluegill that got mixed up in the minnow bucket as I brought him home. And then I don't see the largemouth bass right now, but she's definitely swimming around here. Unfortunately, all my water lilies did die that I had in the baskets last year. I'm trying to get some more pond plants in here, actually into the water, to help with the water quality. But as you know, it's a work in progress. I think it's pretty awesome, and I really like the height it's at. It's not too high, but it's definitely high enough to have an impact. That's going to be all for this one. I have a lot more planned as we work towards finishing this pond, and I've been bringing you along for the whole build from start to finish. So if you haven't already, go back to the beginning video, see the start and all the process coming up until this point. If you want to see some more from Whitt Acres and the finish of this pond eventually, make sure to subscribe down below. Hit that like button before you leave, and you can see me and Echo on the next one. Thanks for watching. Now that that's in, I got to go do some work at the homestead and then get inside and do some editing.